Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here at Carlisle. I've lost 1-0 at home to Cheltenham. In what is, probably, and we've had some very bad performances this season. I think that's on a par with some of the 4-0 losses, some of the 4-1s, 3-1s, 3-0s we've had. We've been beaten a lot this season, and this feels like one of the worst. One thing I want to say right off the bat. There's been a kind of odd coincidence that for as long as I've been doing this whole YouTube thing, which is about 5 or 6 years now, I've been doing this a while, every single manager that we've had during that time has been sacked the morning after I've turned on them for the first time. Now, I'm not going to sit here and delude myself and tell myself that the club listens to me at all, but what I will say is that if that pattern's going to continue, and if history is to repeat itself, then there's going to be a sacking tomorrow morning, because I think I've had my lot with Mike Williamson, and he really, really didn't do himself any favours today. And look, I feel like in a way, he tried, I don't know if he tried to do something different or we just weren't capable of doing what he told the players to do. Because there was no playing out from the back. There wasn't really any game plan at all, especially in the first half. We just kind of knocked it long to no one. Like, if you're going to do that, at least have a target man up front waiting for the ball to be pushed forward. But it seemed to be desperately claw back the ball and try and boot it out of our own half. The first half today was one of the worst performances I've ever seen. Capped off with a brilliantly terrible performance from Harry Lewis, contributing yet another error to his catalogue today. And you've just got to think, how long is it before we cut our losses with the goalkeeper? We've got Jude Smith waiting, or is he injured? I can't quite remember. But at the very least, we've got Gabriel Breeze, who is always impressed when he's been on the pitch. But look, I think Mike Williamson, I've never really been inspired with him from the off. He won his first game, and obviously that was a positive, but since then, I haven't been impressed with him ever in any of the games we've had so far. And more importantly, I think, not necessarily more importantly, but definitely a point, his interviews are so dull and so boring. He really doesn't speak well. And I just think, even in the end, in Paul Simpson, I would listen to every single interview, because that man was nothing if not honest. When things were going wrong, and things did go very wrong towards the end, at the very least you could count on him coming out in the media afterwards and telling you how it was. He would come out and say how terrible things were. He would come out and slay players if they'd had a bad performance, maybe to his own detriment at times. But the interview from Mike Williamson today on BBC Radio Cumbria was an absolute disgrace. I was listening to it and I thought, that's probably the most deluded, kind of damning interview of all time. He sat there coldly, with no real emotion, and told us that the players had given everything. That, that things weren't all that bad. And it really rubbed me up the wrong way, because I've never ever been in Brunton Park when it's been that negative before. Even last season when we were already relegated, even, under Keith Millen and the back end of Chris Beach, I've never ever seen a crowd turn on the players as quickly as what they did. And to be honest with you, I'm not blaming the crowd. I think it's absolutely 100% deserved, because the performance in the first half, it looked effortless. It looked like the players didn't care. There was no plan whatsoever. And it's more frustrating, I think, because what you could say under Keith Millen, what you could say under Chris Beach, was when things weren't going very well, we always did have one of the smallest budgets in League Two, and the players we had were often rejects from other League Two clubs, whereas now we've got a bunch of overpaid players who've been brought in on big money, who clearly have the quality, that are continuously letting down the fans. And, I understand that some people take things too far, and there was a lot of shouting at the players come full time, but as a player and as part of the coaching staff as well, you do not bite back to the fans. You do not get into arguments with the crowd. You don't shout things back, swear at the fans. You don't do that, especially not after you've dished up that performance today, because it was really, really embarrassing. I've never been so embarrassed to be a fan of Carlisle before, because we're a laughingstock. We absolutely are a laughingstock. I just feel like we've wasted money on players that don't at all fit into the club. I think we've got, I like Luke Armstrong, but apart from him, Harry Lewis has been an absolute dud from minute one. Jude Smith, what's the point in that signing? We've signed some new centre-backs, some apparently brilliant new centre-backs in Terrell Thomas, who I've liked parts of this season, and Aaron Hayden, and yet we're still starting with Ben Barkley in the team and Sam Lavelle, who were both incredibly poor last season and probably still shouldn't be at the club. And on a side note, what's Jack Ellis got to do to get in this team? I honestly don't know where he's gone, because there was parts last season where I thought he was very, very unlucky to not be in the starting 11. And now he's not even in the squad, and we don't have a fit right back. Other than him, he's our only fit right back, and we're starting what is essentially a very below average centre back out of position at right back in Ben Barkley. And look, I don't think today was Ben Barkley's worst game by any stretch of the imagination, but what I will say is we've got a very exciting young player who's shown a lot of quality in a league higher than this last season that isn't even getting into the squad. Obviously, managers are going to come in and make their own minds up on players, but Jack Ellis has only ever impressed when I've seen him play, and for him to not even be in the squad when we don't have a right back in the squad, it's baffling. And so many of the decisions from Mike Williamson are baffling. And this one, I think, needs touched on, and I haven't really seen anyone mention it too much. Callum Guy's been injured for about a year, say about 11, 12 months. He started Tuesday, Saturday since he's come back from injury. Not even that, in fact, he started Tuesday, Saturday because of that Papa John's Trophy game or whatever you want to call it now. He's being overused, and I get that we don't really have that much cover, or, he really is our best player, and let's get this straight, he is our best player by a country mile at the minute. It isn't safe. It's dangerous to be playing him after such a long injury in consecutive games. Because look, he took him off today, but it was the 96th minute or something like that. It's dangerous, it's stupid, and it's quite frankly selfish from the manager to play a player like that. And he's never going to say no to playing, because he's a professional footballer. He's going to want to get out on the pitch. But it's dangerous, stupid, and selfish to, put him on the pitch for as long as he has been. But yeah, anything else I'm missing? The Charlie Wyke injury. Obviously, you get better soon, and it looked quite serious from the way he was stretchered off, and you never ever want to see that. But in terms of what it'll say to the squad, I like Charlie Wyke, but I never got the impression that he ever really wanted to play this season. To me, the attitude from him kind of give me the impression that he was more than happy to come here on a massive wage, which it's rumoured that he's on well above $6,000 a week on a 2-year contract. To me, he always just looked like he was happy to come and sit on the bench for money. So I don't really think he's going to be too much of a huge miss. But yeah, look, obviously you don't want anyone to get injured, and hopefully he can come back, because on his day he's an absolutely quality player, and we might need that kind of player if we're going to stay up this season. And I think another point, look at the players today. Who do you think were the best players on that pitch today? I would say Callum Guy, who got man of the match. I would say John Mellish when he came on. And I think in terms of creativity in the first half, in the very limited moments we got forward, I would say Taylor Charters. Them 3 players predate even Paul Simpson. We've spent lots of money on new players under a new recruitment staff in Greg Abbott and his staff, and yet despite the increased budget, despite all the players we've signed, our 3 best players today were all from a time beyond them. Are all veterans of the club that have been here ages. If that isn't a damning statement on how poor the recruitment's been, how we've absolutely wasted the Piatex money, then I don't know what is. And I think the recruitment staff needs to change, and needs to change quickly. Maybe that'll come with the introduction of a director of football, who will maybe or maybe move Greg Abbott down to more of a scouting role than an entire recruitment department, which is what I think a director of football really is all about when he comes in. But yeah, it's been a failure from Greg Abbott. The Greg Abbott thing, and I think he did do some decent work when he first came into the club. Obviously, getting Paul Huntington in, although I think that was more of a Paul Simpson signing than anything else. In that promotion campaign, there was some good players brought in by him, but at the minute, despite the money we've spent, despite all of the signings we've made, our best players now are players who came in under Beach. Even before that, I mean, Mellish is a Stephen Presley signing. I think Callum Guy might be. Taylor Charter's a youth academy product. And some of the players were desperate to get into the team, and Jack Ellis are also from the youth academy. The recruitment's been absolutely awful, and that needs to be addressed as well. I want to finish this off with a kind of message to the owners. You need to come out and say something. I know it's difficult, because I know that you've put so much money and so much time into this club. But at the minute, under your regime, yes, you've put the money in, but on the pitch, we've been relegated once, and it looks like we're getting relegated again. So please, I understand that you're putting in, more money than we've ever had before, and I know that they're not doing anything disastrously wrong, or that their heart's in the right place. It's not like the last ownership where I think they were just kind of dragging their heels trying to stay relevant. I think the Piatex genuinely want what's best for this club, and they genuinely want to invest and make this club bigger. But at the minute, we're failing, and we're failing bad. So you need to come out and speak, because you've been so vocal last season, so in tune with the supporters, and it just seems like you've disappeared now. And I know the Piatex throughout the game today, you can see them in the little press box. Come out and make a statement. Whether that's with the sacking of Mike Williamson, or whether you come out and say that you're going to back him, and you just come out and outline the plan. I'm sitting here and I don't know what the plan is. I don't know how things are going to get better. And it's not my job to. It's the owner's jobs to come and tell the fans how things are going to get better, what the plan is going forward. And I want the Piatex, and I want you, if you're listening, to come out and outline what exactly you think has gone wrong, and what exactly you plan to do to fix that. Because at the minute, your asset that you bought, that was, a League One club, is going to be worth a lot less if we get relegated into the National League. Because non-league football is very often a pit that you can't crawl your way out of. And, we're falling into that pit, and we're falling fast. We're starting to be cut adrift. Us and Morecambe are starting to get cut adrift at the bottom of this league. And it's, if we win next week, we're still in the relegation zone. We're a very poor footballing side with a very, very bitter manager, it seems. Something needs to change, and something needs to change very quickly. But yeah, please let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know who you think would replace Mike Williamson, because that is a big topic for discussion, because there isn't really a vast array of quality managers. I personally think it might be worth looking at the Irish market. It's no secret that I'd, on the side, follow Shelbourne, the current Irish top of the league team, just because of a holiday to Ireland that I took a few years ago that, resulted in me going to a match there. So I've always kept an eye on them. But yeah, their season comes to an end next week, I believe, and a lot of their managers are going to be out of contract, including Damien Duff, who's top of the league with Shelbourne at the minute. Obviously, I think the idea might be to get in a more experienced EFL manager, but it's one worth keeping it as an outside shout anyways. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.